What is the meaning of life? Why are we here? The biggest questions of all. The questions that have dogged the greatest minds for centuries. It makes me look up to the heavens in awe at our vast, magnificent universe and wonder at the possibilities of what life is all about. Join me on a journey to understand more about who we are, why we're here, and to discover more happiness, meaning, and purpose. So far, we've covered techniques to help calm the storms in our minds, to purify it, so we can have a more integrated mind and intellect, which then makes it easier for us to be the observer of our minds, rather than being hijacked by our emotions. As we do these processes, the most important thing is not to blame ourselves. We can speak to our minds with love and compassion. In this section of the film, we will look at techniques to strengthen the intellect, so it's less likely to be emotionally hijacked by our minds. Then we can steer our kayak along the route that we want to go and reduce our conditionings. It helps us to become more aware beings, to make our intellect more subtle, so it can appreciate deeper knowledge. As we become more aware of our own minds and its reactivity, it's important to love and accept our negative thoughts, love and accept our own minds, for us to be compassionate with ourselves, and this will help us to heal our minds. What is self-knowledge? It's the knowledge of the self, knowledge of who we really are. It's also the knowledge of what is real versus what is unreal. What is our relative reality, what we think is real, and what is the ultimate reality of who we really are. It helps us discover a deeper peace, a deeper happiness, because we go direct to the source, rather than searching for happiness from the outside world. Self-knowledge helps us to steer our kayak in the right direction, using our intellects, so that we can reduce our conditionings. Self-knowledge not only teaches us about our blue nature, but also how to prepare our minds to experience this for ourselves. The experience of our blue nature is very subtle and very sublime. It requires a mind that is single-pointed and still, where dominant conditionings have been removed. So self-knowledge also helps us face life's challenges in a way that we can drop our conditionings and become happier and more dynamic. And also, so that we can move closer to experiencing our deepest nature. The only purpose of spiritual knowledge is to trigger remembering. The purpose of the teachings is not to put something into you, but to draw something out of you. Take, for example, a seed. That seed already contains all the knowledge it needs to be a flower. The seed, once we plant it, it will eventually germinate and become a flower. The rays of the sun simply help it on its way. Self-knowledge is like the rays of the sun that helps you blossom into fullness, into the full knowing of who you really are. That's why sometimes I find that I read a piece of knowledge and it deeply resonates in my heart. It's as if I already knew it. It triggered some deep remembering within me. And once you've remembered this knowledge, nothing is ever the same again. The knowledge is not there for us to become intellectually brilliant at it. There is a danger in getting too caught up in the head with this knowledge. We're not studying for an exam. The purpose of this knowledge instead is to purify our equipment so that we can go beyond our equipment, to take us beyond the mind, even beyond our intellect, into that heartfelt intuition, which is the stepping stone to the soul, to the pure stillness and silence within us, to become more simple, more innocent, more playful, and more natural. Another danger of the knowledge is that we can hear it once and think, okay, I've heard it now, I know it all. But of course, it's not about the theoretical knowledge, it's about turning it into practical wisdom. How are we applying it in our lives? I personally find that I have to hear the knowledge hundreds of times, because each time I hear it, a new set of realizations come. It applies in my life in a different way. Maybe knowledge is like a spiral. The more we evolve, the more that same knowledge circles back and becomes even more relevant in our lives. What is the ultimate aim of self-knowledge? We have said that our deepest nature is the one blue consciousness. We are made up of bliss and love, the one sunlight. But we've forgotten who we are, and instead we associate with our equipment, the body, mind, and intellect. Self-knowledge helps us wash away the ignorance of our true nature. It does this by reducing those three distortions of blue: the reactive thoughts and emotions, the ego, and the conditionings. With self-knowledge, we gradually become the witness of our thoughts, the witness of our ego, and our conditionings. This helps us to re-identify with our original nature and to bask in the glory of who we really are. This film has some introductory knowledge to help us understand more about ourselves. During the experiment, I invite you to go deeper into this knowledge in two ways. I invite you to join a discussion group in your area that discusses similar topics to those in this film. Or instead, you could create a discussion group yourself if there's not one in your local area. You could even form a discussion group online. It's amazing to discuss this knowledge with like-minded individuals. It helps you to understand these subtle concepts at a deeper level and how to apply them in your life. In your discussion group, each week you may decide to watch one of the videos of the film and then discuss it as a group. You can find like-minded people in your area on our website by clicking on discussion groups. And of course, there are virtual online study groups as well. Imagine if all over the world people were discussing these topics and expanding their minds. What exciting possibilities could happen if we were all involved? How do you run a study class? Well, it's very simple. The guidelines are in fact on our website. You can run a class for say an hour and a half. Maybe you can start the class with a 15 to 20 minute meditation, and you can use one of the meditations on our website. Then you can pick a particular video of the film, or even the experiment. Each part of the film has a wealth of opportunity for discussion. You can watch that part of the film and then discuss it as a group. Each participant can share how they see the content of the video reflected in their own lives. Now, in a discussion group, it's not about convincing other people to believe something, or preaching to others, or advising others. That's our ego, and it's best to avoid that. Instead, it's about an open sharing of knowledge and how you feel that knowledge applies to your life. There is a guidance note on our site about how to set up a discussion group if there isn't one already in your area. During your experiment, I suggest reading some books on these topics. Now, on my journey, I was exposed to many different books and teachings and teachers. And I think you'll find the following two books very useful on your journey: Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now and A New Earth. Of course, you can obviously pick books that appeal to you personally. In the journal, there is space to write down any notes that you may have from the books you've read or your experiences on the experiment. I also invite you to read the script of this film in order to have more opportunities for self-reflection. Finally, there may be talks and seminars in your local area about these types of content. Maybe you could attend some to get a different perspective. Please seek out the wisdom wherever you may find it. And remember that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. There is a beautiful story of a teacher and his students. The teacher asked his students to fill a sieve full of water from the river. Everyone tried to do it, but no one could do it. The students got really frustrated. How can you fill a sieve full of water? Then in anger, one of the students threw the sieve into the river. Suddenly, the sieve was now full of water. It's only when we immerse ourselves in the knowledge that we can eventually be filled with the knowledge. Do we want to spend our precious time on this planet watching mind-numbing TV shows or pictures of cats on social media? The average person spends 3 to 4 hours a day watching TV, and even more hours on social media and the internet. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with the technology. Social media, the internet has transformed our lives, enabling us to connect in ways we never did before. However, it's when we go from using the technology to abusing the technology that we get into trouble. It's making our minds more distractible and more prone to attention deficit, and stopping us from truly being in the present moment. When we are around other people, are we truly present, or are we constantly distracted by technology? The nature of all these mediums is to create addiction. So TV shows, social media, our smartphones, they're all designed by very clever people to make us into addicts. More and more, we are substituting real human interaction with looking at a screen. But we are biological human beings. We deeply crave real human interaction. And limiting our use of screens is incredibly important. Otherwise, rather than using technology, the technology will use us. Life is so short, so precious. At the end of our lives, will we wish that we'd spent more time watching TV? Or will we wish that we had taken the path our soul yearns to take? To love more, and wishing we had gained more knowledge of who we really are. So is there a commitment that we can make to reading or reflecting on the knowledge? Or maybe joining a discussion group to use our precious time on this planet more wisely? Whatever you choose, life awaits your next move. Self-knowledge helps us dissolve the forgetfulness of who we really are. It also helps us to develop a mind which is fit to experience glimpses of our true blue nature. We already have all the knowledge within us. Books, videos and discussion groups are simply there to trigger remembrance from within. Knowledge is like a spiral. We need to keep hearing the same bit of knowledge again and again as we expand. Life is so precious. Can we spend more time in self-knowledge instead of mindlessly staring at a screen? During the experiment, you may choose to read books on the subject of self-knowledge. If you're not sure, you may choose to read Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now and his second book, A New Earth. You can join a discussion group in your area or an online group by visiting www.TheMeaningofLife.tv/discussion.